Maggie is a 4-H member in Jefferson County, and she has done clothing and textile for how many years?
4 or 5.
4 or 5 years. See how quickly we forget. She has competed at state. Last year, she won third in trash and fashion with her outfit. And she really likes doing this. And so I've asked her to come. This is one of her passions. She really likes to knit, but she also sews too. So without any other complications here, I'm going to turn it over to Maggie. If you guys have questions, raise your hand and Maggie will call on you. If you have trouble hearing us or anything, let us know, okay? All right, y'all have fun.
So what we're going to be making is this little tic-tac-toe game pouch thing. And so you could play the game with like different colored rocks, different colored bends, and then you can put them inside the little pouch when you're done playing. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be stitching the little crosshatch in the front, this part, and then we're going to stitch around it to make it into a little pouch. And then we're going to sew a button on the back, make a buttonhole so it'll close. There we go. And all we're going to use for that is one piece of felt and then the embroidery floss stuff. And then a needle. So what we're going to do is, first we're going to take our piece of felt that we want to make the game out of. And then we're going to take it and fold it. This is widthwise. Widthwise, where it's a little rectangle. Make sure you get nice and even, all the corners line up. Okay. Welcome. Welcome, Ivy. We're gonna get started. What we need to do to get started is get your piece of felt, and we're just folding it in half. That's all we've done so far. Cutting it now. Mm-hmm. And then once. Okay. Did everybody fold your felt in half? Thumbs up. Okay, good job. So now we're going to take our scissors, and in the folded part, you're just going to put your scissors, and if you hold it tight, hold it tight, and then you cut it straight across to the other side, so that you end up with 2 rectangles.
That's right.
Everybody got it? Can you hold it up so we can see? Good job. Good job, Elizabeth. Good job, Jaegers. Good job, Jessica. Is anybody having any trouble with that? No? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take one rectangle and we're just going to put it to the side, okay? I'm not going to use that for now. And then we're going to take the other rectangle, and we're going to need our ruler for this. And we are going to the Schmidt thread. Okay, so she can catch up. Okay, so with one piece of felt off to the side, and we're going to use this square piece. We need our ruler. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put the base of the ruler at one of these smaller ends of the rectangle, like this. And then we're going to take a marker, a pen, some chalk, whatever you have, and you're going to mark where it hits 6 inches on one side. So you should have a line about 6 inches down. Your name's Riley? Tyler? Riley, do you need any help? Got it?
Yeah, she's folding it right. Now she's that on that fold.
Okay. Should I be this way? Hi everybody that just joined. We're just getting started. So what we have done so far is we took
So we're not going to be able to start.
Okay, so hi everybody that just joined. We're just getting started. All we've done so far is we've taken our piece of felt and we folded it in half. And then we cut along the fold. And now we're just marking a line on the felt about 6 inches down with our ruler. And that's what you cut off for the front piece, or the back piece. Okay. So once you get the line, does everybody have their line? Raise your hand or thumbs up. Okay. So now that we have our line, what we're going to do is we're going to cut along the line so that it should end up being just a square. So we're just going to cut off that top small bit. So now I have this little rectangle that's left over, and then this side, a square. Does everybody understand? Does anybody need any help? Good job, Riley. Yeah. So now does everybody have their square? Is everybody ready to move on? Thumbs up. Jessica.
Yeah.
Jessica, do you need any help? Do you understand? Good job, Marley.
I'm Balin.
Bailey. Okay, sorry. Okay. So now we're gonna put the small rectangle, the part we just cut, we're gonna put that over to the side. We're gonna get our big rectangle that we put to the side earlier. Okay, and now on this rectangle, we're going to mark where the 6 inches is on it again, like we did last time, but we're not going to cut off the extra. We're just gonna mark it off so we know where it is. So did everybody mark where the 6 inches is on the big rectangle? Okay, we're gonna wait just a second. Make sure everybody's on board. Good job, babe. Okay. So now what we're going to do, and we're going to do our ruler again, is we're going to be drawing the lines for the tic-tac-toe board. Do you see how there's lines on the thing? On the piece of fabric? So we're going to take our marker or chalk or pencil, whatever you have, and we're going to make a tic-tac-toe drawing on it. You can use the ruler if you want, or you can just do it with your hand. But do you see how the lines don't go all the way to the edge? You want the lines to fit inside the square part of the big rectangle that we just marked. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Do we have thumbs up if that made sense? Okay. Any questions? Okay. So we're just going to do that, and then we'll do the next step. Give me a thumbs up when you're done with that and ready to move on, please. Can you see it? Got our lines on. All we're doing right now is drawing lines on. Good job, Jessica. Does anybody want to show how they did? Good job, Elizabeth. Good job, Riley. Good job, Balin. Good job, Lanny. Good job, Legagus. Haley, how are you doing? You got it? So now we're going to get onto the sewing part. Did everybody finish drawing their tic-tac-toe? Okay, so now we're down to our sewing part. You're gonna need your embroidery floss or thread. And you're gonna take one in one hand, and you're gonna take the rest in the other, and you're just gonna go like this, straight out with your arms. And then we're gonna cut it. But how big it is when you go straight out with your arms is how big you want it to be. Everybody cut their thread.
Does anybody have any questions? Is everybody doing okay? You guys all got your thread cut? Those hands, give us thumbs up when you get your thread cut.
Good. Okay. So next you're going to take one end of the thread, you're going to thread your needle. This might take a second. And if you're having trouble fitting the thread into the needle, if it's fraying, you might want to snip off the frayed bit with your scissors, and it'll fit through the needle better. You might lick the thread, that'll help it fit through the needle better. Or if you're having a lot of trouble, you can use hairspray. Hey, good job, Jessica. Good job, Riley. Good job, Bailey.
Everybody got them threaded?
Needle thread is very useful. And the wire pulls off in the middle bit, and then I just throw it away.
Oh. I'm real careful.
Great for the win.
Lady. It looks like Lady Haley.
Give us thumbs up if you guys are finished.
Okay.
Elizabeth's not.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. If we got what finished?
If you finish threading your needle.
Yes, yeah.
Is there? Is it Haley?
Haley's pretty. She's trying to get help. Lainey's still working. It looks like the Yankees got it.
Lainey, did you get yours done, sweetie? Okay.
So now we're going to tie a knot in the end of the thread. And let me show you how we do that most of the time. Can y'all see my, yeah, okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold the end of it in one hand, your right hand, and then your left hand, you're going to hold the needle and whatever else is left of the thread. And you're going to wrap the thread around your finger and then pinch both ends of the thread with your pointer finger and your thumb. And then you're going to roll it back and forth on your finger so that it twists up. And you'll do that. And then you're going to take your fingers and pinch up higher on the string. And you're just going to slide it down. And then you have a knot in your thread. And that'll work on the embroidery floss. It'll work on any of the sewing thread you have to use when you hand sew. Did that make sense? Did y'all understand that? Thumbs up, please.
Are we putting the needle on the center of the string?
Well, what we were going to do is we're going to, the needle is about 4 or 5 inches down the thread.
Okay,
And so this one's loose, but this one has a knot in it.
gotcha.
Does that make sense? Any questions?
And that's probably what he's thinking, so he just told him just one of those, and that's what he's talking about.
What was going to be? Elizabeth, do you have a question?
Can you slow down? I can't get my needle threaded.
You can't get your needle threaded. Okay. So is it threaded now?
No, I still can't get it.
Is the thread like frayed at all? Like, is it coming apart?
It is, but we're trying to. We sew a lot, so we're trying to find a cheat to try to get through it.
Okay. If you want, you might need to lick it, or if it won't fit into the eye, no matter what you do, you can take embroidery floss apart, and it'll fit into a smaller eye.
Does it work if you're putting the thread in? Can't you just use a paper clip and then put the thread in it and then slide it in?
Yes, if the paper clip will go through the eye of the needle, that'll work. Elizabeth, did you understand what I said when I meant you could separate the floss that'll fit through your needle?
Yes.
Okay.
Just like being in the classroom. So you have to watch each kid and you have to control them individually. Watching this and she gets really tired.
Elizabeth, when you get your needle threaded and the knot tied, let me know, please.
I got it threaded and knotted.
Yay, good job. Okay, so now, let me get back up. Now what we're gonna do is on our little drawing of the tic-tac-toe board, we're gonna start at one of the lines. We're gonna go all the way down. And so at the end of one of your lines, you're just gonna stick the needle into the fabric. Yeah.
Does it need to be a different color thread?
It can be if you want it to, or you can use the same color.
I'm still trying to get my needle threaded. I got it threaded, didn't tie the knot in it. Through. Hang on, I'll be back.
Okay.
Can you show it again? Can you show it again?
So So what we did was we just, at the beginning of the crosshatch, or the tic-tac-toe board, we just, at the beginning of one of the lines, we just stuck the needle in right where it's. Then we just pulled the needle and the thread through. So your knot should be right at the top of the line where you start.
Could you show it just one more time? I didn't get it.
Okay, so how you have the
Don't get
textile
confused
line.
on which line we're putting the needle through.
It doesn't matter as long as it's one of the tic-tac-toe lines, but
Yeah,
this
but
one we're not going to do anything.
on this piece of felt or on the tic-tac-toe board felt?
On the tic-tac-toe board felt, please.
Okay.
So right now we're going to stitch the little pattern into the front part of the board. in a second, once we all finish getting our needles into the fabric, we're going to sew all the way down the line. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. When you've got your needle attached to the fabric. Yes, Jessica, that's right. Once you have your needle attached to the fabric, just give me a thumbs up. Yeah. Yes, Bailey, that's right. So does everybody have their needle and thread attached to the fabric? Okay, so now we're going to start stitching down the line. So on the side that does not have any lines is where your needle or thread is coming out. If it's not, that's okay. And we're going to stick the thread right back in, like you're going to make a stitch. But make sure that when the needle comes out on the other side, it's on the line you drew. And then once you do that, you should be on the side of the lines. Again, if not, that's okay. But you're going to stick the needle back through in the line of the fabric. And so now the stitch will look a little bit like this, where you can see one stitch, but then it's not there right here. And then you see the thread again. And so you're going to take your needle and you're going to stick it right back where you thread, where you see the thread at the end of the first stitch. And then pull it through. And so you're going to do, so basically you're doing one stitch and then you're going back so that you can see it and it makes a straight line. So now it looks like kind of just one big stitch. So you stick the needle through. And then you go back on itself. Back and touch the last stitch. And this is called a back stitch. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions?
Can you show the back six one more time?
Okay, so on this side, you're just going to stick it in and pull it through. And then once you're on one side, on this side, once you're on this side, you pull it tight. And so you're going to go back to this stitch already. And you're going to, did that make any more sense? So it's just going to look like a perforated line. Whereas if we just sewed in and out, in and out, instead of going back on itself, it would be like line, a lot of space, and the line, and a lot of space, like a dotted line.
Does everybody still have their speaker view on so that Maggie is the only thing you see on your screen?
And so now if you got the hang of it, please don't raise your hand, ask a question. Be happy to help. We're going to go all the way down the line that we drew. How many do we have?
When y'all get that one line done, be sure to hold it up and let Maggie see what you got going.
Oh, good job, Lanny. Good job, Elizabeth.
Are you guys getting close to being done with that first line?
If it's going kind of slow, what you can do is you can use bigger stitches. It might go a little faster.
Are you guys ready to move on to knowing how to transition to the next line? Okay, if you're not finished, let's go ahead and learn how to do the transition to the next line. And then you guys go ahead and keep working on your first line, but pay attention to how to do it for the second one.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is there should be one side and it'll look a lot cleaner, and the other side will be kind of messy and it'll have this space right here between the knot and the stitches. Does everybody see that on theirs? So what you're gonna do is on the messy side that has the knot and the space, you should end up with your thread on that side. If it's not, just poke it through one more time and it should be. Okay? And then what you're gonna do is just in the thread that you've already stitched, take one of the stitches and you're gonna just put the needle through the thread, not the fabric. So you're gonna stick it through the thread instead of the fabric. And then you're gonna pull the needle through and the knot all the way, and you should have this little loop left over. And so what you do with the little loop is you take the needle and you stick the needle through the loop. You're not gonna touch the thread or the fabric with your needle, stick it through the loop. And you're just going to pull that tight. And that'll make a little knot on your thread so that when you cut it off, your stitches won't come undone. And then you can just cut it off and make sure you leave a little bit between the knot and the end of the thread that you're gonna cut. You don't wanna cut the knot. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, talk it through just one more time.
Okay, so we're on the side with the
One more time, guys, she's gonna tell you how to do it.
We're on the side with a little space in the knot. This will be our wrong side. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take a needle and you should see the stitches and you should stick the needle through one of the stitches. It doesn't matter which one, but do y'all see how I have the needle kind of through the stitches? One of the ones close to the end, you want to stick it through the stitches, but you don't want to get any of the fabric. You're just gonna pull the needle through like that, but don't pull it all the way tight. And then everybody see how I have this little loop left over from what I didn't pull through? What you're gonna do is you're gonna take the needle and you're gonna just put the needle through the little loop. Okay, you're gonna put the needle through the little loop like that. You're just gonna pull the needle through and then pull it back. Let's make a little knot. You probably won't be able to see the knot because it'll be really little on the thread, but it should be there. Check that. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Jaegers, did you get it?
Good job, Anna.
Thumbs up, guys, if you got it. Okay.
Okay, one thumbs down. The Yankees. Okay, and so now you can take your scissors and you're just going to cut the thread. Make sure you cut it a little bit down the thread. You don't want to cut it right against your fabric because then you might cut your stitches or you might cut your knot and then everything will come undone. So I did a little bit away from my fabric and I'm just going to snip it. Just like that. And so you'll have a little tail, but that's okay because it'll be on the inside. You won't be able to see it.
Everybody remember how to tie a knot in the end of that thread?
So now I just rethread my needle because I didn't have very much thread left on it. You're going to want to have about 2, maybe 3 feet. If you don't have that, you might need to rethread your needle with more thread. But then we're just going to tie another knot in the end, like we did last time. And if you're ready to move on to it, you can start on another line. Just remember, you start at one end and you go down. So you want to make sure that this time, when you put the knot in, it's on the same side of the fabric that has the knot. Does that make sense? Are there any questions? Good job, Riley.
So they're gonna cut it off every time and then the line.
That'd be like the cleanest way to do it. It's not necessary, but.
But then they get 4 practices to
Do the whole thing.
finish it off.
I think it's like it's gonna happen. And I had to do it like this one, but two at the end, and then I had to slip I think just, and then I can use the needle on a different one. Is everybody on to their second line? Is anybody just now finishing their first line and need help figuring out how to finish their second? Or start their second?
Everybody okay, or do you have any questions? Everybody like sewing so far?
Good job, Alan. Are you done? Good job.
Any problems or questions?
Ricky Jones. I know a little message about one. She's a secretary. She says, this is a great one. Ricky was doing it.
So the whole time it's like 2, 2, 3.
Does everybody remember how to tie it off at the end? Make your knot. When you finish, if you remember how to do it, y'all can go ahead and tie it off and cut your thread.
Well, it's 2:00. So you still need to sew it, show them sewing it inside because it's a different stage. You need to show that.
What were we thinking we could like sew this and then leave this open? So they could open it up and then they would
They
sew
can
this
still finish
closed.
it. Right. Sew the two pieces together.
So when we're all done with this line we're working on, we're just gonna be done with this part for a little bit. We'll come back to it later when we're done. But first I'm gonna show y'all how we're gonna sew around it with the square we cut off to make it into the little pouch bag.
No, maybe we'll have to make
So let me know when you're ready,
When you guys have the second line done, thumbs up. Let us see what you got.
Good job, Riley.
It goes on top. Does it go on top?
Hold on just a second. You're gonna go on that.
Just ran like a girl. Quit giving me blues. I want. You wanted blues?
Hey, the big ones, how many different colors were there?
Well, there. Pink, green. Does it go on the top or the bottom? There's only two pink. And there's another big packet. I like this container. What? With a button on top. It goes at the top. Okay. Alright. Here's the dark blue. I think we're gonna do. Here's another blue. Okay.
Kiddos, don't start a third line. Just do the first two that Maggie told you to do. Everybody have 2 lines done? Okay, Yeager said yes, we know Bailey's done. Elizabeth is done. Lainey, do you have both of your lines done? Do you have both of your lines done? Okay, Elizabeth said, Riley, do you have both of yours done? Okay. And Yeager's have both of them.
See now? we're gonna get the little square. Make sure it's a square piece. We don't need this piece, or we're gonna use this little square. Okay.
I have one line left.
Okay. That's okay. What we're gonna do for now, though, is we're gonna move on to sewing around it, and then we can go back and we can finish that line. Okay. Yes, Lainey?
Unmute your mic, Lainey.
Lainey, can you unmute so we can hear you?
How many lines are we supposed to do?
When we're all done, we're gonna have 4, but right now we're manually 10, and I'm gonna do this in case we run out of time.
Hey, sweetie, mute your mic.
What?
You make
Your mic.
So we have our square that we cut earlier, and we have the rectangle we're sewing the rectangle onto. Right? So there.
I can't get mine threaded.
Okay. So when we're sewing, there usually has to be a right side and a wrong side. The right side usually looks cleaner, and in this case, we can tell it's the wrong side because the stitches, like I said, look a lot messier than the front side. And then there's the knot and then the space between your lines. Does that make sense? So if it has the knot and the space, it's the wrong side. If it's just the stitches, it's the right side. Makes sense? Thumbs up. Everybody get it? Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our little square that we cut earlier, and we're going to look for the right side of what we're sewing, because it won't have the little knot on it. And you want to make sure that you put it on the right side. No, you don't want to put the little square on the side with the knot and the space. So on one side, you should have the square with the, it should be on the right side, it should have the square on top of the rectangle, okay? And then on the wrong side, we should still see our knot and our space and all the stitches. Everybody get that? Everybody understand? Do we have any questions? Okay. So now we have our needle and our thread. We're going to tie another knot in the end. And then we are going to start in a corner that of the square that doesn't meet up with the corner of a rectangle. So how the rectangle has this little extra flap up here. We're going to do it on the corner right where the square and the rectangle meet. Like that. Contrast. Or I could cut another square and I could stitch. So it should be like this. And I switched the color of my rectangle so y'all could see the difference. So you're gonna stick the needle into the corner where it does not meet this corner of the rectangle. The top of the square. And then you're gonna pull it through. You got your knot through, just like we did when we started the line for the tic-tac-toe. And then what we're gonna do now is called a blanket stitch. And we're going to take it and we're gonna, Elizabeth, do you have a question?
So I was trying to grab something to thread it, but which side does this go on, the back or the front? The square.
The square is going to, we're gonna sew it onto the right side of the fabric. So there should be one side of the stitches that looks a lot neater, and there's a side of the stitches that has a knot in the space.
I'm sorry, my computer's breaking up.
Okay.
There you are.
So basically what we do is we sew it inside out.
Oh, you're sewing it inside out. You know how to do that. There you go. Sew it inside out.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the one I already made inside out, and we're going to sew around the edge. And then we are going to turn it inside out. And the whole thing looks a lot neater, a lot cleaner.
Can you bring I'm done with my little pouch thingy, the tic-tac-toe board. I made the little pouch on the, oh, right here's, I made the little pouch.
Good job.
Okay, just let her stay on this line.
Lainey, you have a question?
So we're supposed to put the side like this, like, are we supposed to do it where it's like that and then we flip it inside out? That's the side that,
The square on the other side of your rectangle.
so right here?
Yes.
Okay. And then we're gonna flip it inside out like that. Okay. Thank you.
You want your knot on the inside when you flip.
Turn your gray one inside out and show what you're doing. Okay, because Bailey and Ryan was having the same problem.
Okay, so now we're going to start stitching the sides, but we're going to use a different stitch than we used for the tic-tac-toe board. And so we have the knot on this side from where we start our needle in. And then you're going to go over with your thread and then stick it back through on the same side that your knot is on. This is called a blanket stitch. And you're just going to keep on going over and sticking it through. Does anybody have any questions about that? And so it should end up looking like this all the way around. You see how the stitches go over the edge instead of going just straight through back and forth? Are there any questions? Lainey?
How are you supposed to do that?
So you stick your needle through, and then, so you stick your needle through, and then you basically take the thread and you go over the side, and you stick it back through the 2 pieces of fabric. You're just gonna do that over and over and over until you'll go around the corners and then you'll go all the way up around the side. Until we're done. And so if you're not done stitching on your tic-tac-toe onto your rectangle, like I'm not done yet, I've only done 2 of my lines. What you're going to do is you're only going to sew 2 of the 3 sides so that you can then open it up like this and finish stitching on your tic-tac-toe.
Did everybody understand that?
Do you have to put on the buttons?
Your house here, but we'll get to that.
You need to get off of me. Hey, can I, I forgot.
How's everybody doing with their stitching around the side? Everybody doing good? You don't want to pull too tight because it'll make it pucker up instead of laying straight flat.
Does everybody have about one side done? Okay, let Maggie know whenever you get 2 sides done so that she can show you how to do the button.
Hey, can you tell me about the buttons and then I just text you a picture of it?
we wait just a little bit, then everybody can do it together.
It looks like Elizabeth moved back to her. I think she's still doing that thing. She's gonna make a break.
Now remember, you're leaving that third side open so that you can continue your crosshatch for the tic-tac-toe after we show you how to sew the button on. So you guys may be finishing this after we get off the air, okay?
Now, a couple of inches, but now you have that. She has to. And she would choose thread.
Does everybody remember what all the stitches were called? What's that stitch called that you're using right now? Who knows? Raise your hand. Yagers, can you unmute your mic and answer us? Yagers, can you answer us? Unmute your mic. Okay, what's the answer?
Blanket stitches.
Very good. Good job.
Did I know what the? Did I remember what the? What stitch we used? What stitch we used for the tic-tac-toe?
Who remembers what stitch you were using for the tic-tac-toe part? Oh, Miss Maggie, you may have to tell them again. Who does? Jaeger, okay. Jaeger?
Back stitch.
Back stitch. Good job.
Very good.
I finished 2 sides.
Good
job,
job,
Ryan.
thank you. How about anybody else? Where are y'all? Thumbs up. Can Maggie move on to tell you about the button? You guys ready with the button? Okay, Maggie, I said, go ahead. Okay, everybody watch first, and then she'll go through it again with your button.
Wait, first I'm just going to show you, and then I'll show you where we're going to put the button on the pouch we're making. Okay? So whenever you're putting a button on, what you're going to do first is you're going to thread the needle, and then you're going to tie the knot in the end, like we did for all the other stitches. And then you're going to stick the needle through wherever you want the bend to be. So I'm just going to stick it through my fabric. And pull all the way through. And then you're going to take your bend. I have a really big one so y'all can see what I'm doing. And you're just going to stick the needle through one of the holes and pull all the way through. And so now your bend is down by your fabric on your thread. And if your bend has a ridge, the ridge should always be up. If your bend, but some bends don't, some bends might just be flat. And then you should, and then it doesn't really matter. But there should always be a flat side in the fabric. And then if you have a 4-hole bend, what you're going to do is you're going to go straight across into the hole diagonal from the one you just started in. And you're going to go down closest to the center as you can in the hole. And you're going to stick it through the fabric all the way through. And then you're going to go back up through the first hole. Back up through the first hole. You stick it through. Pull it out. And then pull it tight. You always have to pull it tight so that the bend will stay on better. And then you're going to pull it all the way through. You should do that 3 or 4 times.
So who has a 4-hole button? Raise your hand. Okay. Elizabeth, what kind of a button do you have, sweetheart?
Neighbors are all 4-hole going. Lady has a question? No.
Lady, do you have a question? Okay.
Are you supposed to stick your thread all the way through the thing, or both layers, or just the square?
For the bend?
Okay, she hasn't told you where to put it yet, so just hold on, guys.
We're going to do that in just a second.
We're just trying to figure out what kind of button everybody has. Elizabeth, do you know what yours is now? Is it a 4? Okay, all right. Okay. Thank you.
And so once you're sewing through the first 2 holes, once you've done that 3 or 4 times, what you're going to do is you're going to be on the side of the fabric that doesn't have a button on it, and you're going to stick the thread and needle through one of the holes that doesn't have thread in it. And then you're gonna go thread.
Hey, you guys need to be watching Maggie, not sewing. She hasn't told you where to put your button yet.
And then you're gonna go directly diagonal from that one. And you're gonna do that 3 or 4 times.
So on a 4-hole button, you do 3 or 4 times in a diagonal, 1 hole to the other, and then 3 or 4 times the other 2 holes diagonal from each other. Everybody understand that? Thumbs up. Go ahead.
Okay. And so once you're done sewing into the hole, what we're gonna do next. Okay. What we're gonna do next is called a chain. And so what you do is you stick the needle through your fabric, but you're gonna make it directly, but you're gonna do it behind the button so that the needle does not go through your buttonhole, but you pull the needle through your fabric. And then what you do is you take your thread and you wrap it around your button 3 or 4 times, really tight, and then you stick the needle back through your fabric. And why we do that is so that the whole thing will fit into a buttonhole a lot better, because when you don't do that, the threads are like this through the button, but then once you do a shank around it, it kind of squeezes them all together. It's a lot smaller, and it'll fit in the button. Did that make sense? Does everybody understand? Any questions? Okay. And so now we're going to stick the button. Now we're going to put the button on our little game. What we need to do is we need to turn it inside out. So everybody's going to turn their game inside out, even if you haven't sewn all the way through. So you turn the whole thing inside out. Now all your seams that you did along the sides, they look like this when it's inside. When it's how we've been sewing it, it looks like this. But then we're going to turn it inside out, and you won't be able to see them. Does that make sense? Are there any questions? Okay, so then this longer part from the rectangle, the flap, we're going to fold it over to see where that lands. And then you're going to take your marker or your chalk and mark where you want your bend to be. Mark it on the square of the rectangle. So not on this little flappy bit, but you want to make sure wherever you mark it, like I'm going to put my dot right here. Wherever you mark it, you can see my dot. It needs to be able to be covered by the flap, because the flap's going to have a buttonhole in a little bit. Does that make sense? Everybody got that? Okay, so has everybody marked where they want their bed to be? Thumbs up, please. And where we're gonna put our bed, we need to make sure it's not on the front where we have the tic-tac-toe shape on it. We need it on the back, on the square. Like on this one that I made the other day, this is the rectangle, and you turn it around, and here's the square, and the bed's on the square. Lainey?
What are we supposed to be doing right now?
We're gonna do the bed.
Okay.
Let's see.
Right. Lainey, are you ready with your thread and needle? Okay.
Okay, so where we want our bed to be, it's tied under the flap. And then we're going to take the needle and put it inside and stick it out where we marked the bend to be. Like that. Okay. And then we're going to put our bend on the thread Remember, if you have a ridge, the ridge should be up, and the flat side should be against the fabric. And then we're going to go in diagonal. So I started in this hole. I'm going to go into this one. That's diagonal from it. And pull all the way through. And then I'm going to do that 3 or 4 times.
Good job, Elizabeth. She's going to show you how to do the buttonhole in a minute.
Oh, good job. Show you down.
How about you, Lainey? How are you doing? Good.
Good.
Jaegers, what about you? Good. Riley, good job. Everybody got their button on?
Okay, so now that we have our buttons on, I'm going to show you how to make a buttonhole. And what we're going to be able to do, because we're using felt, but usually when you are sewing and you're making a buttonhole in like a shirt or maybe a pair of pants, you do have to finish off the buttonhole by sewing around it with thread. But we can not do that but we can get away with not doing that because felt is a pressed fiber, which means they took a bunch of fibers and they really wet them down and they use these combs to just like stick it all together. That's a really neat process. If you want to look it up, you can just Google how to make felt and they'll show you. It's something you can do at home if you want to. And then you're going and what was I saying? So and it won't fray because they're all pressed together. And so when you're cutting it, you're not like when normal fabric is either knitted together or it's woven together like a basket. And when you cut that, it's unraveling and then fraying. So it'll fray out. But the felt, it's a pressed fiber, which means that it basically makes a solid piece. And so you can just cut it and it won't fray. It might fuzz up just a little bit, but that's fine. And so what we're going to do is we're going to fold our flap over where we need the buttonhole. And through the flap, you can kind of feel your button that you sewed on. And you're just going to kind of mark where the center of that button is on your button, where you want the buttonhole to be. Just like that. Everybody got that? Any questions? Okay. And then what you do is you fold the flap kind of in half where that mark was. So I'm folding the flap over in half. You can see the little mark is on the edge where I folded it. And you're going to take your scissors. You're just going to make a little snip right where the mark is. And so now you should have a tiny, tiny hole in the fabric, like mine. And then you can take your scissors and you can snip it a little bigger every time. Remember, you can always cut more. You can't put it back until your bun fits through the hole. Does that make sense? Did everybody get that? Any questions? Does anybody have any questions? Somebody done it already? When you do it, please show us. We can see. Hey, good job, Riley. Good job, Lady. Good job, Elizabeth.
Why don't you hold yours up again and oh damn road closed.
Yeah, buttonhole. And there, button.
Okay, in the chat box, I put the survey for y'all to fill out. The link for the survey, a lot of you've already done this, so it's the same process. just a different one. It's the one for today. So if you don't mind doing that, we'd appreciate it. What Maggie's gonna do now is to explain to you how to finish up the parts that you haven't done yet, so that you'll know what you're doing. Okay?
Do the crosshatch. Switch to the inside and then finish the final side.
So now, if you haven't finished your crosshatch, you can go back to that. Remember, you start at the beginning of the line, and then you go all the way down, but use the back stitch. You're going back onto yourself. And if you also haven't finished, so and then once you're done with that, if you still haven't finished sewing around this the whole pouch, you go back, you keep it this way, and you sew all the way around. And you should end up sewing 3 sides. 1, 2, 3. This side where the flap is can stay open, so you can put the in it. Does that make sense? Does everybody got that? Do you have any more questions about it?
Anybody got any questions for Maggie?
And for game pieces, you can use like nickels and pennies, or you can use some rocks, you can use some buttons. It really doesn't matter. You can use whatever you have. You just need 4 or 5 of 2 different things so you can tell them apart, so you know who played which one.
When you beat your dad at tic-tac-toe, Maggie wants to know. Does anybody have any questions for Maggie? Okay, don't forget to fill out the survey. Okay, Maggie's going to stay on for a few more minutes to answer any questions that anybody has. But that's all we had for today. We hope you had fun.
For the tic-tac-toe pieces, we use buttons.
Yep, you can use buttons, you can use anything you want.
Okay.
Maggie had a lot of fun today.
Yes, thank you guys.
You guys got it all figured out how to finish your cross hatching and finish sewing up your little pouch? Okay. You can sign off if you want to. Don't forget to fill out the survey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.